Good morning to all. Happy Friday to everybody in the YouTube community, in the internet community, you grand spanned army of folks who all you do is blog and vlog just like me, and we have nothing better to do during our days. That doesn't mean our days are wasted because we're communicating right now. This is communication at its best. And today's video is communicating some of my thoughts on the current series from the DC Comics line from Villains Month. For those of you who don't know, Villains Month is actually going to be comprised of all of the major DC series, and with all of the designated villains taking over the month. So say you have your Flash. So Flash is going to be having Reverse Flash, and then for the Superman's run, they're going to have, I believe they're going to have Brainiac, and they're going to have who else? Who else are they going to have? Solomon Grundy, I think, is going to be for Superman, or it might be for someone else. Then you're going to have Catwoman, and you're going to have Two-Face and Iceman. Wrong series. Mr. Freeze for some of the Batman series, so it's going to be a lot of really interesting stories, and it's focused only on those villains. It's going to be kind of giving you insight to their interactions with the heroes or their own personal stories. Some things that we don't normally see on a regular basis because the stories are focused on the heroes dealing with these villains, whereas now it's going to be the villains dealing with either their own lives, their antics, their plots, or actually facing off against these heroes. So we get a villainous perspective, which is, I think it's a fantastic idea. It's perfect, kind of give a refresher for the New 52 series, which started back in 2011, and we have so much such prolific content for all of these different villains, but we rarely ever get just an assigned insight, an assigned issue for them. So I think this is awesome, but I'm going to talk only about one series in particular because I'll be honest, that's the only one of the only DC franchises that I read right now. I read Batman, I read Batman Superman, which just came out recently, not because of the movie, because I hate Superman, and I was trying to be a little bit more open-minded to the idea of him. So I was like, okay, he's an okay hero. I think, I would hope. I mean, everyone seems to love him, so let's find out why people love him. So I gave that a shot, and it's okay so far. I try to stay open-minded about it. I'm enjoying it so far. But yeah, Batman, Superman. I read Astro City, which is published on the Vertigo imprint of DC, and what else do I read? And I think. Oh, and Batwing. Batwing is amazing. And unfortunately, Batwing I don't think is going to be getting a Villains Month because he's not that recent, or I'm sorry, he's more recent of a character, so we don't have that many villains. But let's kick off on the first half of Villains Month for the series Batman. I guess if for anyone who knows me, and if I think I've made little hints to it, Batman is one of my favorite superheroes, along with Spider-Man, Daredevil, and Thor. Those are like some of my major favorite superheroes. But Batman and Spider-Man are definitely up there because they're essentially the same comic book archetype. But that's a totally different subject. I'm not going to get into that right now. But yeah, for Villains Month, Batman is actually going to be receiving 4 villain issues. The first 2 have already come out. The most recent came out this past Wednesday. It's going to be in chronological order. We have Joker, Riddler, Penguin, and Bane. Penguin and Bane are going to be very interesting. We'll do a video on that once they come around. But I want to first talk about the Joker and the Riddler issues, because I just read these 2 issues, and well, let me see, not just read. I just read the Riddler issue, and I read the Joker issue last week, and they were really great. As for fans of the Batman villains and the franchise as a whole, this gives you a broader scope of that universe. We have the DC universe; it's just way too broad for me to even crack down right now. But at least for the villains in the Batman franchise, these were really good insights to kind of what these characters do, what their motivations are, a deeper insight to the psychology. I say that more towards the Riddler issue than the Joker issue. So let's do this. So the Joker issue. Okay, it came out last week. It was the first of the Villains Month for Batman. And, Joker, he's such a staple character of the Batman franchise, of the DC franchise, and just comic books in general. When a lot of people that I've spoken to who are comic book enthusiasts, who've just seen movies and kind of have that that multimedia pop culture seed in them. They always like tell me, oh yeah, my favorite villain is the Joker. Because they either saw the movie The Dark Knight, which everyone loves. I don't think I've met a person who didn't like Dark Knight. Or they're like older generations who saw the first Batman movie, and we had Jack Nicholson Joker, and he was just amazing. But yeah, so the Joker first issue for Villains Month of Batman. We see Joker. He's actually having a flashback about his childhood, about an aunt who used to abuse him, and oh wait, hold on, I haven't done this officially. Okay, spoiler alert. It's not really spoilers, so yeah, there will be spoilers in this video, guys. I'll even put it in the description in the bottom, so prepare for that. But yeah, he's recalling, his abusive aunt, his childhood, and how she used to scrub his face, with bleach and mess up his skin and everything. And that was pretty interesting, because it gives you the idea that he's been exposed to violence and has kind of had himself frayed psychologically from the get-go, from his adolescence. And then it jumps into the issue where he's actually rearing this young ape that he has stolen from the zoo, and basically rearing him in his image, making him into some sort of pet slash son, where he trains him to use weaponry and to kind of hone his intellect, because he is an ape, so he's pretty smart, and he ends up naming him Jackanapes, which is pretty funny, I thought. But yeah, I mean, you're starting to see the reflection between Joker's recalled childhood and then the way he's raising Jackanapes. He's not abusing him, but he's kind of channeling that psychosis that was acquired from his youth to raising this young ape into this giant burly creature. And one of the items that I've been reading a lot of reviews about, and just a lot of people's feedback on this issue, is whether or not they feel that this Joker flashback, this childhood flashback, is actually real, if it's not just a figment of his imagination, or if it's one of those things that he's manifested in himself because he's so twisted and he's so maimed psychologically that he doesn't know what his past is, because that's one of the major mysteries of Joker. We don't know what his past is, and so people were saying that if the creative team decided to actually give us a definitive insight into something that happened to Joker in his past, then it's kind of like a sellout move for Joker, because that's the appeal for him. You don't know what happened to Joker, and then but then at the same time, people are like, no, it's actually just something that he's made up, something that he's trying to think almost with dark fondness, but it actually never happened. And I think that would be a more appropriate viewpoint for this issue. I thought that's what I took from it. I thought Joker is a little weird. I mean, not a little weird. That's an understatement, to end the decade. But no, he's very strained, and he has all of these ailments about him psychologically that there's no way that we can consider what he says, what he narrates, and what he recalls to be truth. I mean, he may be even tricking himself. There's that even deeper psychological approach to the character. But yeah, Joker. Let me grab this issue again so you guys can check out the cover. But yeah, as far as the cover art, I thought the cover art was really cool. Each of these issues actually came out with a holographic version of it, so it's like Pokemon, holographic cards, holographic comic book issues. But I didn't pick it up. For one, I couldn't find one, and two, I was thinking okay, fine, it's not that big of a deal. It's a little bit, it's like really cheap marketing, hey, shiny cover, you guys should buy this. And so, but the cover is really cool. I mean, you have Joker that. It's a pretty I think the cover art's right on the money. You see Joker, he's just laughing manically, and he already has Batman doesn't appear in the issue, but you have Batman in the back tied up, and looking like he's gonna face defeat. So good issue. It does give you some foreshadowing for stories to come. Jackanapes will be seen later in another series, Damian, Son of Batman, which is coming out later this year, so I'm actually going to be excited for that. I might pick it up, we'll see. Okay, so the next one, Riddler. Riddler, strangely, is not one of my favorite Batman characters. He is a cool character. I will grant anyone who loves Riddler, I will grant him that. He's a cool character. I just for me, I think he kind of lacks in certain departments, and I'll explain why. So Riddler, for those who do know Riddler, and for those who kind of have a biased opinion of Riddler, he's very intellectual. He obviously for his namesake, he's fixated on riddles and puzzles, and always wants to kind of have the last word in, both literally and figuratively. He wants to have the last action in because he feels that he's planned everything down to the T. So he's earned himself that. Always trying to trick Batman, always trying to kind of set him off in his little maze of plans and everything. So, and that's what you see with this issue. You do see Riddler, like it's essentially a revenge plot. It's something that's taking place sometime in the past in this timeline where he's going back to have revenge on one of the former Arkham guards who used to abuse him back when he was imprisoned. And so that I thought was really cool. Like it starts off, the issue actually starts off with a riddle. It's very cryptic, very Riddler-esque. But drawing back to what I said, that I don't really like the Riddler that much, is because he has his own psychological issues. We talked about Joker having his Riddler. He has and a lot of people will kind of argue against this, but if one of the things that I've always discussed with people who have ever read Riddler, they know vaguely anything about him, he has an inferiority complex. And that's one of the things that I've never really enjoyed about him. It does make him a compelling character because he's always trying to prove himself, always trying to prove that he's the smarter person, and he's superior to everyone else intellectually. And in many respects he is, but he just can't get past the fact that he needs to prove it all the time, and he always needs to try to put down his opponents. Like when you see him in this issue, he's on several occasions calling people inferior to him, and it stays true to the character. It's just one of those things that I've never really enjoyed about him. I think it's kind of tedious and annoying to keep hearing him say like, "Oh yeah, you idiot, I can't believe you didn't figure that out." So it's kind of funny, and then but it does make the character more well-rounded, which I do agree helps him a lot. It makes him what he is, and you see that. I think the issue was well written, so you actually see the way this character has been shaped over the many years that we've known him. And then you see him in other media, like one of my favorite games, Arkham City, Batman Arkham City. You have the Riddler, who I think the way they captured him in that video game was spot on, and then this is represented perfectly in the issue as well. But yeah, I mean, other than that, other than my little qualms with Riddler, the issue was fantastic. I thought it was better than the Joker issue. Scandal. Joker is my favorite comic book villain. Arguably my favorite character. I'm still on the fence about what my favorite character is. I think Joker is my favorite character, but Riddler though, like he knows how to make a plan. Like he knows how to set stuff up and have everybody fall into place. Like even when there's a moment when it seems like his plan gets disrupted for a bit, and he may not be able to have it end up the way he wanted. Like he ends up adapting, and it's just his mind. His mind is so dynamic, and it was a really good read. It was very entertaining. It's like it almost seemed like one of those stories where you have the hero kind of storm the tower, and that's exactly what Riddler's doing. He's storming Wayne Tower, and he's going into like those business offices, and he's basically holding everyone to ransom just so he can get to one goal. And I'll let everyone figure out what that one goal is once they read it. But yeah, I mean, you have the villain storming the tower, and it was really interesting to see because you don't normally root for him, but I was actually found myself rooting for him. I wanted to see where he's going with this and why he's doing it. And once you reach that end point, that closing, let's see, what is it? Once you get to the end of that rising action, I can't think of my terms right now. It was very satisfying to see. It was kind of gruesome because once you get there, you realize, holy crap, this is what he's been wanting to do this entire time. And it ends very serenely. He has a moment just to kind of relax to himself. Yeah, I rooted for the Riddler. It was very cool. I mean, it's one of those things where the character can be evil or can be good, but you have to want them to succeed, or if the writers get you to kind of get in their corner for a little bit, I think that character is A+ on that character, because whether they're good or bad, if you can get them to be in your corner, then that's really interesting. That's what the writers did for the creative team did for this Riddler issue. I was rooting for the Riddler. I thought it was really great. I definitely give this like a recommendation for anybody who wants to read about villains. Joker, I think it was more of a niche preference. You know, if you do enjoy the Joker, I think you will enjoy the issue. It's just a little bit more obscure of a story type for him. You know, it is still very Joker, but there's also little elements to it that might not be as relatable to the rest of the Joker lore. So, you know, read it at your own discretion. I always recommend people to read everything, you know, and if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. But I think these are both excellent issues. A great half month for Villains Month for Batman. I'm very excited for Penguin and Bane, so we'll be talking about that maybe later once we get those issues coming across. Stay tuned this week. We're going to be doing another sit downs. I'm considering two items of discussion. One of them is going to be about film and film genre, or the one that I'm kind of toying with is the idea of plot holes in writing and in comic books and films. So we'll see what I decide. If anything, we just have two stocked subjects to talk about later for the channel. So please remember to like and subscribe. Hope you've enjoyed this video, this little talk on, or these reviews on these two issues. Go out, pick up these Villain Month issues. I'm sure you'll enjoy them, and everyone have a great weekend. Peace and love.